We're going to see who's a good player on Sunday. All right? That's what I got for him.
And I be looking, I'm just a good player. All right, he got a good player coming his way. He got okay. He gonna see on Sunday what he got coming for him. They gonna put some respect on my name. He gonna put respect on my name. That's all I'm saying. Like he just wasn't a good coach to me. He was a great coach. He helped me improve. He helped me grow. So I don't ever talk bad about people. So for him to call me a good player, all right, I got something for him on Sunday.
Wow, amazing. Purple Daily, Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, and Declan Goff. You can find Purple Daily in audio form on Apple, Spotify, and scorenorth.com, where you can also find Judd's Vikings writings, and in video form on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast. And I would say, you know what? Mike Zimmer called him a good player. Mike Zimmer referred to Everson Griffen this week as he was a good player for us, and I wish him the best. I just don't want him to play well this weekend, obviously, which is what all coaches say, right? I wish him the best, but just not against us. I sided with Everson. I think Everson was a great player for the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm glad that he is using Mike Zimmer's dismissal of his greatness as whiteboard material in this game between the Vikings and the Lions this weekend, boys.
Imagine being Zim and thinking to yourself that you know that you're going to be asked about Ev, and you think, you know what, I'm going to pay him a compliment. He was a really good player for us. And Zim probably walked away from that Zoom press conference thinking, I handled that question really well. Like I
praised my guy.
I gave a down the middle, very honest and credible and not glowing, but that's fine. Ev is going to see this and he's going to think, you know what, Zim did right by me. And yesterday, somebody had to tell Zim, Everson's really pissed. Why? Because you called him good. Like, think about that.
Like,
if you're Zim, you're like, I got no problems, okay? My team's got 2 wins. I've got cornerbacks who I'm actively calling. I believe his reference on Wednesday was kindergartners. That's what he's calling his cornerbacks. And now Everson's mad that I called him good. I can't even process that if you're Zim.
It is hilarious. Like, yeah, at some point, you know, someone from Vikings PR, like Jeff Anderson or somebody, had to go up to Zim and say, hey, so Everson's kind of pissed. What?
Yeah. What?
What do you mean? Well, he took it as shade that you called him a good player on Wednesday in your press conference. What? What are you talking about? This is a great example of players, and coaches do this too. Like PJ Fleck has done this with the Gophers. They'll take literally any sort of headline or anything to latch onto. Michael Jordan used to do, you know, that The Last Dance documentary. I mean, Michael Jordan would find little things here and there, like backup caliber players on opposing teams. Yeah. If you looked at him the wrong way in a game once.
George Karl. Yeah, didn't
George
say
Karl.
hi at what the restaurant.
Yes. And these
South
guys,
Carolina guy, yeah,
they'll find that motivation. So I guess, does Everson Griffen have a right? Let's say Mike Zimmer called him a good player and meant it. It's a good player.
Yeah.
What would you guys consider Everson Griffin's career as a Viking? How would you sort of characterize it in the pantheon of Vikings defensive pass rushers?
I believe he's second all time, if I'm not mistaken, in sacks. He had some great years. He was a very good player. I think Mike was exactly right.
Is he a Ring of Honor player?
Yes.
Adrian is for sure. Adrian's a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
You know what? With the fact that these guys don't retire jerseys and consider the ring to be a place to put moss, I think it's a conversation.
They only have, I think, 6 retired numbers, and Moss is not one of them.
I think with how they have structured things, I think he might be, but it'll be a long time from now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the jurisdiction of the first ballot Ring of Honor status is. He might not be that, but I do think he gets in the Ring of Honor. He was a phenomenal player. And his charismatic personality is only going to help him, I think, solidify that. But he's a Ring of Honor candidate for sure.
It looks like, according to Pro Football Reference, he's 4th on the Vikings all-time sack list behind John Randall, Chris Dolman, and Jared Allen.
He is one of the Vikings all-time, in my opinion, steals in the draft because he had problems coming out of Southern Cal, off the field problems, and he fell to the 4th round. And that's one where Rick was not lying. He was a first-round talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
that was no BS.
The Vikings have actually done that. In terms of first-round talent that they were able to get late in the first round or second, third rounds because of injury issues or off-the-field issues. Stephon Diggs, Everson Griffen, Dalvin Cook was one that fell to the second round because of this. So they've actually done a good job of taking risks, quote unquote, on guys that have red flags in the draft. And I think he's probably exhibit A
I
for
think
that.
Everson is upset if he is truly upset. So like let's say his feelings are hurt, which he claimed. I think he's upset because in his mind he loves Zimmer, and
Yes.
he thought Mike loved him back.
Like, listen to the way he talks
I
about
think he's
Mike
hurt.
Zimmer. Yeah,
He's hurt.
He thinks of Mike Zimmer as someone who sort of helped save his life in some ways.
and
right?
and look at the sack statistics. Mike took him from being, I think, a solid player into the good to great range.
I miss guys. I miss Harrison. I miss Anthony. I miss EK. I miss Zimmer. So when Zimmer said that about that, I'm a good player. All right. We're going to see who's a good player on Sunday. All right. That's what I got for him. And I be looking. I'm just a good player. All right. He got a good player coming his way. He got – okay. He going to see on Sunday what he got coming for him. They're going to put some respect on my name. He going to put respect on my name. That's all I'm saying. Like, he just wasn't a good coach to me. He was a great coach. He helped me improve. He helped me grow. So I don't ever talk bad about people. So for him to call me a good player, all right. I got something for him on Sunday.
I love Everson Griffen
I
so
don't talk
much.
bad.
I do too, man.
He's a little bit of a psycho, but
Football
sometimes
player.
he's like a teddy bear. So here's how I would characterize Everson Griffen as a Viking. I think there is a top tier of great Vikings pass rushers and defensive linemen, and it includes John Randall. It includes the three main guys from the Purple People Eaters, so Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, and Alan Page.
Mhm.
And you stop me if I'm wrong on this.
No, okay.
And I think it also includes Chris Dolman. I think the second tier of all-time great Vikings defensive linemen, I think it actually starts with Daniil Hunter, and then Daniil Hunter.
And he could get up there.
Yeah, he's
I
on
agree with that.
path to get to the top tier, especially with being the youngest guy to ever get to 50 sacks, I believe, in NFL history. But he got injured this year, and so he had a 1-year setback that might prevent him from getting to some certain numbers. I also think the second tier includes Everson Griffen, Jared Allen, Kevin Williams, maybe Brian Robinson, but I think there's a gap between
No.
Everson Griffen and Brian Robinson.
Agreed with that.
Okay. So I think that's your second tier. And if you want to create a third tier that Brian Robinson can be the captain of, that's how I would characterize
Big
it.
Pat.
Ooh, Big Pat was, yeah. I feel like the bulk
He
of
didn't
his career
rush,
came in
but I
Buffalo,
mean-
though, didn't it?
He was really good here, man. He was really
He's in the
good.
second tier.
But
He's in
he's
the
a
second
fat
tier.
guy,
Mhm.
I mean,
run stopper.
he's in the
Mold.
second tier, and Linval Joseph might actually be in that second tier, too.
I don't think he's Ring of Honor material. I don't think his career was long enough.
Everson, you're saying? Or
Linval.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
No,
I agree with that.
Yeah. But even like,
He's a really good player.
even guys like in that second, like Ray Edwards, like that's another similar dude who was a 4th-round pick and turned out to like 35 sacks in a small little career. Like they've always been able to find dudes on the defensive line, whether it's in the draft or free agency, that turn out to be extremely effective players.
And
for
see,
him.
like Ray Edwards was a good player who
Right.
benefited from having 3 ridiculously good defensive linemen. Everson to
Yeah.
me is for sure a tick above Ray Edwards.
Do you remember Ray trying to box?
did you go to that fight?
Dude,
Pelisaro and I went up to Duluth to go see him fight against some tomato can. Man, it was pathetic.
He won the fight, right?
Like, of course. He like fought me. Like the guy looked like me. Hey, put up your nukes, Ray Edwards. Put up your nukes. You play for the Vikings, right? That's what I hear. I hear you play for the Vikings. Are you good for it? Don't hit me, please. Don't hit me. So Griffin's career starts in 2010, and he played 11 games, I think mostly on special teams, okay? But his sack totals from 2010 through Frazier's last year, which was 2013, go 0, 4, 8, 5, and 1/2 sacks, okay?
Yeah, he wasn't even a starter.
Now here's why I think that he thought Zim loves me. Zim turned him or helped turn him into a guy who, starting in 2014, the sack totals 12, 10.5 sacks, 8, 13, 5.5, and 8.
Yeah.
But I mean, so we're talking within a 4-year time span, boys, of 3 seasons with double-digit sacks.
Yeah, he turned into one of the
that's why.
better pass rushers, and he was also, I mean, he tended to be great as a run stopper too. You could, like the criticism of Jared Allen and of Yannick Ngakoue, and we're going to get to a Yannick Ngakoue talker in a second, is that they could sort of sold out to get sacks. Everson Griffen did not sell out to get sacks. Everson Griffen was just a really good, still is a good player at the end of his career here. So, well, we'll see. He's got the motivation.
Do you guys, does it concern you that he's going to come in here fired up if you're the Vikings?
Let me take your question and ask it this way.
Yep.
Who are you more afraid is going to pull like a Kobe Bryant Utah Jazz moment of I can't do it all the time, but I'm going to do it this once against the Vikings. Is it Everson Griffen or Adrian Peterson?
Griffen. I think Peterson's done.
Yeah, I think it's Griffen.
I
don't think guys on like I can see Everson Griffen single-handedly taking over this game. I think guys in the Lions on the offense can get it done without Adrian Peterson.
I do look forward to seeing on the sideline at some juncture, if not more than once on Sunday, Adrian yelling at Patricia to put him in the game. I think it's going to take place.
It will.
And I will embrace it with open arms when I see him melting down and saying, "You idiot, why am I not playing?" Because Peterson and I don't agree on a lot of things, but we do agree on this. Matt Patricia is an idiot.
Yeah, he does. I think, especially in these games against the Vikings, and this will be the third time he's played the Vikings?
Washington, he did too, right?
Okay. So
he played the Saints game opening night of 2016.
Yeah.
Correct?
17
or 17? 17. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think once with Washington, correct?
Yeah.
And
I think his ego flares up, and that like, I don't want my former team to see me as this like bench player shell of myself. I want to show them who's boss. And not that I don't think him and the franchise are on really bad terms anymore. I think once his career's over, the Vikings will welcome him back.
Oh yeah,
he'll be in the Ring of Honor, and
he's fine with that.
Do you think he gets his number retired?
If Moss does not, you can't. I don't see how.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Randy Moss is until
Chris Carter has his number retired.
He does, but in my opinion, until 84 is retired, I can't make a case for anyone else now.
It's also kind of hard in football because like you just don't have all that many. You have a 53-man roster.
Right.
In a practice squad, and you just need numbers.
But when it comes to Moss, I hate that. I hate that because Randy Moss changed the game of football.
Agreed.
Right. Okay, I completely get if Peterson, who was a great player, but you deem him not worthy of retiring 28. Like, okay, I get it. But Randy Moss changed the course of the passing game, and he changed the course of your franchise completely. And you don't retire his number. And I don't even like him that much, but that's not the point. The point is he changed the league. He took your fan base, which was aging and sort of bored and sort of that Met Stadium, right? Post World War II guy who used to bring the bottle of schnapps to the game and drink. He took that fan base and turned it into a young, energetic fan base. And you don't retire his digits?
Do you guys ever drink schnapps?
I did.
Not since a very long time. I'll just say that. I won't.
And they probably drank they probably drank hardcore stuff. So I'm sorry if I offended that group of people.
No, that's okay.
But the fact is, how can you make a case to retire numbers from here on out if you're not going to retire Mosses?
No, it's true. It's true. So with that said, Everson Griffen, I think he's borderline Ring of Honor, but definitely not number retired.
Oh,
wasn't on that level.
Agreed with that completely.
Judd broached this question here too. Let's pivot to this here for a second on Purple Daily. So Yannick Ngakoue, he plays 5 or 6 games I think he played 6 games for the Vikings, and then they traded him. So they had him for a month and a half basically, and then they traded him to Baltimore. Now in those 6 games, he did have 5 sacks, 12 tackles. So it wasn't like he played terribly or anything. He averaged about a sack per game and was going to get double-digit sacks if he had played the whole season. But he didn't fill the role that they were hoping because the team just wasn't good enough. And so they wanted to, when they made the trade for him, they thought, boy, we're going to have Danielle Hunter over here and Yannick Ngakoue as also maybe a borderline top 10 pass rusher. And these guys are just going to be unleashed. And then Danielle Hunter's injury was worse than they thought. So they just cut bait on Yannick Ngakoue. So where does, as Judd posed in our emails back and forth this morning, where does Yannick Ngakoue rank on the list of Vikings and Minnesota sports trades that when they happened, you were like, ooh,
this is going to be
this
good.
is going to be interesting.
Get the
and
popcorn.
then for whatever reason, whether the player underperformed or in this case, whether like the team underperformed and they made the trade to dish him out of here, what other players come to mind?
The top one for me that comes immediately to mind because this guy was coming back and the excitement is Moss in 2010. Because they got Moss back, and we didn't realize that he was traded in part because his performance was starting to decline with the Patriots. I just recall the excitement and the immediate, oh my God, Rice is not coming back now, but you got Randy Moss.
Yeah.
And it took it took slightly less than a month for him to be gone. So I think the poster child example of this is Moss, and just that basically couple weeks of excitement down to he's gone now and he's been released completely.
Dude, I thought when they made that trade, because I remember they made that trade, and I think the Twins were in a playoff run against the Yankees.
Yep.
It was like, and the Vikings had obviously just went to the NFC Championship game the year before.
Yep.
And I thought, oh man, they're going to get, Randy Moss is coming back. He's been amazing for the Patriots the last few years. At that point, there was no real evidence that he was completely washed and that he had no speed left anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be a revenge tour, and that him and Brett Favre were going to make a victory lap around the league, and the Vikings were going to dig out of their September hole. And instead, Randy Moss turned out to be gunpowder sprinkled on a flammable situation between Brett Favre and Brad Childress and the ownership.
And broken down.
And he couldn't play for the most part.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
he's okay, but he wasn't great.
Like he was broken down. I think had he been in the right situation and mindset and coach and stuff, I don't think it would have turned out that way. I think he would have been a productive player.
Yeah, productive, but not a superstar by that point.
I'll give you guys another one here, all right? Donovan McNabb in 2011.
That's a good one.
Because now I believe they drafted Ponder. They brought in McNabb and then they drafted Ponder,
Correct.
Right? In that order?
Yes. Les told Rick to trade for McNabb because he thought I have to have a veteran quarterback. Rick said, that's fine, but I'm drafting one.
Okay.
And so the friction existed between those two guys.
Amazing. And you know what?
Great.
McNabb, he did have the pit stop in Washington the year before, but I think Mike Shanahan was the head coach and they clashed. And so you could kind of make a case for, all right, he's not that old. He's like, he's like 34, 35. And the Vikings just did it with 40-year-old Brett Favre coming off
That's what they were
weird pit stop in New York with the Jets.
Uh-huh.
So they were literally trying to recreate. And there had been Donovan McNabb rumors even going back like 5 years earlier when Brad Childress got the job initially.
Yep.
And so I really legitimately thought that Donovan McNabb was going to have a rejuvenated season and that, he, at least for a couple of years, was going to kind of do what Brett Favre did and play at his best. And that obviously
Can I give you two
happen.
things off that? So when Brad got fired in 2010, I believe the Vikings' first game after Brad got fired, so Frazier's first game, was in Washington. And the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken, won that game in 2010, okay? And McNabb started at quarterback. And I covered that game, and I'm watching him, and I'm going like, there's something really off here. Now, I attributed it in retrospect to what you said, which was, well, he's not a good fit for the system, and it's not working, and it's somewhat out of his control. But do you know the tip-off to me that this is trouble? And I'm not joking
His
here.
training camp press conference?
The training camp press conference when he came in huge. I mean, he looked like a left guard. And he came in huge, and that's when he started in the, hey, Mankato, tell Wendy's we're coming. Tell McDonald's we're coming. Tell KFC and he went through.
Pizza Ranch.
Yes, and he went through all of the restaurants and basically said, me and the O-line want free meals. And he wasn't kidding. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is not good because you, dude, are big already.
Dude, they started off 0-4. They beat the Cardinals in week 5.
Yes.
And then I think his last game was a loss at Chicago.
He got lifted at halftime.
Okay.
It was a
Throwing
Sunday
ground
night game,
balls everywhere.
Monday night game. And he was, so the pass that he threw where you knew it was a disaster, who were they playing? Was it the Arizona game? He threw a short pass to Shankow. And the ball literally hit 2 yards in front of Asante.
Yeah, it was a 2-hopper. I do remember that throw.
And I'm like, oh, you just hopped the ball to him.
Now, in fairness to Donovan, okay, in fairness, he did have Percy Harvin, so he had at least had one sort of Swiss Army knife weapon. It wasn't like there were 0 weapons.
Yes.
But Adrian Peterson got hurt. Well, no, I guess Adrian Peterson was in his prime and played for the duration of Donovan's period and then got hurt later.
Christmas Eve, yeah.
So he had Adrian Peterson in his prime too.
He just stunk.
Some of his other wide receivers, though, like Michael Jenkins, Shanko kind of past his prime. Devin Aroma-Shadu was one of their top 3 wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And Toby Gerhart was their
Do you
running back
remember
receiving
how
leader.
excited when they drafted, I think they took Toby in the second round from Stanford.
Yeah.
And we all thought, oh, Adrian's got his fullback, man. This is going to be fantastic. He's going to blind. Is this going to be great? No. And I think he lasted like 3 years.
But he was a running back. Like, did they That's the weird thing. He was, because I
I
remember
thought we thought that he was going to be the 1-2 team and like he was going to block because he was anyway.
I just remember his last year at
it was just a
Stanford.
disaster.
He ran for like 2,000 yards his last year at Stanford, and it was like, oh man, they
That's
got this like, oh, they're gonna have these 2 running backs. No, they still just have 1. So, anyways, who else, Dex? Who else can you think of?
The couple that come to mind are, even though it's a little blurry, but when the Twins traded for Jaime Garcia in 2017, because at first you're like, oh, so they are going to add like a decent pitching rotation guy here, and then within him making that start, they're like, no, never mind.
We're
actually
one start.
out. We're gonna trade him to the Yankees after acquiring him 48 hours.
That's a hilarious one.
Which was genius too.
I'm pretty sure. I think were you producing our show that day when we were in Mankato when that happened? I feel like
might have been.
Can't remember.
I might have been.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were doing shows from Vikings training camp when the Jaime Garcia stuff went down.
They did bail quickly though.
But
It was great.
I mean, as quickly as the Vikings bailed on Yannick Ngakoue, like the Twins had Jaime Garcia for a week. So they beat the Vikings by a month.
The Twins were in contention and they had like a rough 2 weeks, was it?
Mm-hmm.
They were never really in contention. They were like
they
under
rough,
500.
But they had that like rough stretch, and they just pivoted in about 2 seconds and said, nice start in Oakland. Thanks a lot. You're going to the Yankees.
Yeah. And then I think they actually still made a run and finished within a couple games or something.
They went out west, I think, and got hot.
Or was that the year they made the wild card game?
That
Who knows? Whatever.
That might be right. I don't care anymore.
So anyways, Yannick Ngakoue. It was a great 5 sacks in Vikings history, and they will always be remembered.
Oh, here's a Twins
fondly.
one for you. Tommy Herr, 88, okay? So people loved Bruno, but the
Tom
Twins...
Brunansky for the young YouTube audience.
Yes. People loved Tommy, but Herr came here, and the Twins had been looking to find consistency at second base at that time. And Tommy Herr had been a good player, and nobody knew that he was basically crying on the plane flying here because he hated being traded so much. And that went from being, it's a big trade and people don't necessarily love it, but it's going to fill a position of need in a big way, to this guy is an idiot.
Yeah.
and now he's going into the Cardinals Hall of Fame. So he's right. They never should have traded him.
Yeah. I like that one too. So yeah, if you guys have any other suggestions, throw them in the comment section on youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast. Trades that you thought as a Minnesota sports fan or a Vikings fan, yes, this is going to be it. And it turned out to be a buzzkill. Hit us up. And don't forget, Vikings Vent Line right after the Vikings game is over against the Lions on Sunday. Are they going to win and climb closer to 500? Or are they going to continue climbing closer to a higher draft pick? Either way, there's going to be things to celebrate after the Vikings-Lions game is over. Mackey, Judd, Declan, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.